even Dr. Mercola is coming around. And that's regarding something I called you about before. And I have a big stake in this. I not only had my womb cut out of my body, but terrible fibroids. And men need to listen. All the InfoWar men need to listen up, too, because all the prostate problems are being caused by this, too. And I'm a nutritionist, and I went back to my book, my nutrition book in 1974, that started having this info in it and taking this information.
Well, ma'am, you say you disagree. Well, what do you disagree with me? What's your issue? Tell me.
No, I had to preface it like that. What I disagree on is the fact that we've got to get out that it's not just potassium iodide. We need the potassium iodine. The potassium iodine is what the breasts use. 90% of the women now have fibroids in their breasts. They're twice as likely to get breast cancer. The prostate problems. The parts of the body use iodide. Some use both iodine and iodine. But everybody should be taking this because we're going to see breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer.
Well, ma'am, I'm totally confused, Lucretia, and I'm glad you called, but we normally have people who go to the head of the line who disagree, who really do disagree. I've had medical doctors on, I've had nutritionists, pharmacists on, saying that iodine is key to the whole body and that most Americans have iodine, also vitamin D deficiency. And you're absolutely right that it is mineral and other deficiencies are one of the biggest issues in this country. I totally agree with you. I don't know what you're talking about.
The RDA is 100 times less than what the Japanese, to 400 times less, and everybody needs to start eating like a good 4 to 12 sheets of nori a day. That's how much seaweed they'd have to eat. Now it's so polluted, forget that. But the Iodoral, the Lugos, it has both the potassium iodine and potassium iodide, and you don't need to take the 130 milligrams. You know, something like 12 milligrams is what Dr. Russell Blaylock and Dr. Stan Monteith, Dr. Miller, Dr. Fletcher all recommend, and people need to start getting on that. So that's my disagreement. Now, the second thing, if I may. Oh, and if you would, Alex.
Ma'am, we only got about a minute. We only got a minute.
I know. I wish you would get Dr. Miller, Dr. Blaylock on to talk about this, and also Dr. Mark Starr, who talks about the thyroid. Because
we've had Dr. Blaylock on a lot. I want to get Dr. Blaylock back on about government-run health care, so let's get him on in the next few weeks. That's a good idea. We've had most of these people on, ma'am. I really appreciate your call. You got about 20 seconds left.
Okay, second thing is, you know about the heave weapon in Bernard Eastland's patent?
Yes.
Okay, because that can raise up the gravitational field of the Earth and let it back down like an atom bomb. And if you look at before all these earthquakes, we are seeing a 2.5 frequency, and then they cut it off.
And they're seeing these in Chile, in Japan, these big lights right before it happens, which is associated with the HAARP weapon system. Look, my gut tells me HAARP could be involved in this, but I can't prove it. But the patents say it can do it. The former Secretary of Defense admits it. But, I mean, I can't come out and say it's HAARP without total proof. But something stinks. This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365. Diamond Gusset is proud to announce the anthem of the Patriot Movement. They're offering a free CD, T-shirt, and bumper sticker with a qualifying purchase. Diamond Gusset offers great products at great prices while keeping Americans working.
I'm looking for a factory where a man can feed his family, not worried about them moving it south, closing the doors and shutting her down tomorrow. I'm looking for America.
We're American and be proud. Go to gusset.com/America.
Land on the free and the home of the
TruthCloset.com/America Today.
Over the last year, Alex has told you about, and many of you have experienced, emergencies and disasters in unprecedented numbers. People have had to literally run for their lives. Folks, this is Steve Shank with eFoods Direct. I'm not here to scare you, but when disaster strikes, you won't have time to think. You must act automatically. What does a pilot do when the helicopter engine fails in flight? No time to think, just act automatically. When the alert is broadcast, the alarm sounds, or the knock comes on your door, you'll need to be ready to act without thinking of what to do or what you need. You need a 5-day extreme emergency kit. With serious supplies and real food to secure 2 adults for 5 days, this powerful $300 extreme emergency kit is free with an order of at least $995 from eFoods Direct. Go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com/Alex. 800-409-5633.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
It is Friday, the 8th day of April, 2011. I'll be back Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. here. We're going to go back to your phone calls here in just a moment. We do have, coming up in about 30 minutes, Bruce Fein joining us. He's the constitutional lawyer who comes highly recommended by Ron Paul up on Capitol Hill, circulating articles of impeachment against Barack Obama. Clearly, he should be impeached for a whole host of issues. He's violated the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. He became the UN head of the Security Council, violating Article 1, Section 9. But there's a lot of other reasons, and it needs to happen. If the Republicans were real, and there was a real system change happening, they would go after him for these crimes. The problem is the Republican leadership has signed off on most of this and been enthusiastic on a lot of it. And that's why Ken Starr went after Bill Clinton for lying about having sex with Monica Lewinsky. I did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. How dare you? How dare you? 9/11, an inside job. How dare you? Yeah, how dare us? How dare us, Clinton? Because they couldn't go after him on the missile secrets to China, the corruption, the bid rigging, all of the classical fraud going on, because the Republican leadership was up to their eyeballs in it. That's why they'll normally go after somebody on a sexual scandal or on their private taxes or lying to Congress, something little that's only about them. So I'm going to bring all this up with our guest coming up. This should be very interesting to have a wider discussion. In fact, guys, I know he's circulating that. I saw a copy online, but, or is that already in my folder, the articles of impeachment he's circulating? Okay, good. Yeah, okay, I do have a list of them. Good. When he joins us. I'm going to talk more about the government shutdown. It is a complete hologram, a distraction. I don't like a lot of out-of-control unions who are for NAFTA and GATT and basically just take their members' money to give it to the Democrats to push gun control. And that's one of their big pet projects. I don't like all the welfare moms and all the rest of it, or that most of the illegal alien anchor babies are getting full welfare for their families as the states go bankrupt. That's part of the plan to bankrupt 43 states now in bankruptcy, technically, and then have the feds themselves who are bankrupt take them into receivership. Then we go into receivership to the private central banks, who will just make up more fiat money to pay the debts for us as long as they get to own the assets. But that's all a limited symptom of globalism, and you could get rid of all that welfare today, and it wouldn't pay for a fraction of the $1,000+ quadrillion in derivatives that we've been forced to sign on to. You think $1.5 trillion yearly deficit is a big deal? That's nothing compared to our real problems that we've signed on to this debt. So the Democrats are calling for more taxes, more regulation, more welfare, more government jobs, because that's their job, is to create a dependent population so that we will be bankrupt and beholden to the system. The Republicans, they're busy pushing all their corporate welfare and their tax-exempt status for offshore corporations and all the rest of it as well. And they're not pushing to get rid of the repeal of Glass-Steagall to bring back real banking regulations so that the mega banks can't create all this counterfeit currency and counterfeit financial instruments. They're not calling to make Wall Street, who created all these gambling debts, take a haircut in the free market. No. They're going into QE2, QE3. They're continuing QE2, and I heard them on Bloomberg this morning at Bretton Woods 2 saying QE3 is going to be needed. But if we give the bankers total control over our lives, they'll fix the problem they created, which is making themselves emperors of the planet. Oh, that's a big problem for them. No, this is their stated goal. We got a lot of radiation news as well. But let's try to go through your calls quickly, callers. Let's talk to Joe in Illinois. Joe, thanks for holding.
Hi, Alex. Thank you. It's an honor for sure. I'm going to tell you, get this out as quick as I can. In reference to what you're saying about Americans being turned against each other, let me put this into context. What you say about the 98% conviction rate the feds have in criminal court is absolutely right. I'm glad to hear somebody finally say that in public. I would like to say that the government is big on talking about conspiracy theories, but yet they convict people of conspiracy several times a day. I'm one of them, so I'm speaking, from knowledge. Yeah,
they tell us with big government and big corporations, nobody ever gets in back rooms and makes deals that are illegal. That's a conspiracy, a criminal conspiracy. If I conspire with my buddies to go on a fishing trip, that means we just organize something. That's just not a criminal conspiracy. That's a conspiracy of enjoyment and leisure. If I'm going to go camping, that's a conspiracy of leisure. But when they get together and get rid of Glass-Steagall so they can then take over the planet through financial fraud, that's a conspiracy. But they've convinced us that there's hundreds of thousands of convictions I've seen a year. It's in the hundreds of thousands of state, local, and federal conspiracy charges. But that we can believe. Some guys can conspire in a cave to attack us on 9/11, but the big corporations that run the planet, they never conspire, Joe.
And I'd like to just say that in reference to your point about how, people will be turned against each other, and what I'm saying, it ties in with the court system, is that what I would love to see you do on the show is have an expert on the jury selection in federal court. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the jury pool in federal court, unlike state court where the jury pool where they choose, if a juror is not chose for jury duty, they're dismissed. In federal court, in federal criminal court, those jurors stay in a pool, and what happens then is they get to know the judge and the prosecutors very well.
No, that's right. It's a hand-picked group that will convict you. 98. It's 96 and 98, depending on which year. On average, it's about 97 if you average the two together. So 97%. Last year, it was 98%. The year before, it was 96%. And it's growing. Soon, it'll be 100%, because you're right. How many Americans know it's a kept jury of little minions, usually little government toadies? The few that don't play ball over the years are removed, and they would send a ham sandwich to the electric chair if they were ordered to do so. That's why the Liberty Dollar, 13 years operating, just a silver coin, openly denouncing the Federal Reserve. You got all these states moving, now 9 states moving for their own currency, and the feds told the jury to convict Bernard von Nothaus, and he's going to prison. Great points. I appreciate your call. Oh, yeah, it's scary, folks. It is really scary. I mean, did the Nazis have a 98% conviction rate? Do you really think 98% of people that the government indicts, the federal government, are guilty? I'll tell you who that 2% was. They've now brought him into 2 trials. Former federal treasury officer who heard a radio show in California, now 13 years ago, Joe Bannister. He heard him break down the Federal Reserve, that the income tax is a fraud, wasn't properly ratified. He spent 2 years researching it, didn't believe it, because he was going to come out against the talk show host, on air. He wasn't going to try to go after him politically. And he found out it was all true and brought it to his superiors, and they said, shut up about this. Basically, yeah, we all know this. Welcome to the club. And years later, they indicted him for claiming he was involved in fraud and stuff, for speaking publicly about this. He went to federal court and beat him. Then they came after him again. They beat him again. I mean, because he's so upright and he has the facts. But they're just going to keep coming after him, folks. They want to get him. Folks, we didn't have a Federal Reserve till 1913. Until 1951, less than 1% of Americans paid income tax. Go look it up. Okay, we built the stinking country with over a 10% growth rate per year on average with zero inflation for the first